Everyone, today I want to tell you a story of betrayal, revenge, and marriage. The story takes place in a small town in the middle of the United States called Peaceful Valley. The protagonist of the story is me, Jack Miller, 45 years old, an ordinary car mechanic. My wife, Sarah, is 5 years younger than me and was once a gentle and beautiful pastor's wife. To begin the story, I have to take you back to what was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, our church wedding. It was a sunny day, the church was decorated with white flowers, and the air was filled with the smell of happiness. Sarah looked beautiful as an angel in her dream white wedding dress. I stood in front of the altar, my heart pounding, waiting excitedly for my bride. Sarah walked slowly towards me, her face beaming with a sweet smile. Her father, the Reverend John, held her hand tightly as he escorted her to me. At that moment, I felt like the happiest man in the world. Everyone, today I want to tell you a story of betrayal, revenge, and marriage. The story takes place in a small town in the middle of the United States called Peaceful Valley. The protagonist of the story is me, Jack Miller, 45 years old, an ordinary car mechanic. My wife, Sarah, is 5 years younger than me and was once a gentle and beautiful pastor's wife. To begin the story, I have to take you back to what was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives, our church wedding. It was a sunny day, the church was decorated with white flowers, and the air was filled with the smell of happiness. Sarah looked beautiful as an angel in her dream white wedding dress. I stood in front of the altar, my heart pounding, waiting excitedly for my bride. Sarah walked slowly towards me, her face beaming with a sweet smile. Her father, the Reverend John, held her hand tightly as he escorted her to me. At that moment, I felt like the happiest man in the world. We exchanged vows, put on our rings, and became husband and wife in the presence of God and all our family and friends. After the wedding ceremony, we went to the banquet hall of the church to start the celebration. Family and friends came up to give their blessings, and the atmosphere was lively and warm. However, just as I was about to propose a toast, I did something that surprised everyone. Dear guests, thank you for coming to Sarah and my wedding today. Today, I have a special gift for my bride, I said into the microphone, with a strange smile on my face. The lights in the ballroom dimmed, and a video suddenly appeared on the big screen. The video began with a shot of Sarah and a man hugging in front of a motel, then they entered the room, and the next morning they left together. At the end of the video, they were seen kissing in the church lounge, and the man was actually a member of the choir named Michael. The whole banquet hall fell silent in an instant, and everyone, including my father-in-law, the Reverend John, stared at the screen in disbelief. Sarah's smile froze on her face instantly paled, and her body began to tremble slightly. The congregation erupted in a storm of murmurs, a flood of accusations, surprise, and anger. I looked at Sarah, her eyes filled with fear and despair. I knew that my plan for revenge had succeeded. The story began 6 months ago. Sarah and I had been married for 5 years. To outsiders, we seemed like a loving couple. Sarah was gentle and virtuous, and everyone at the church praised her as the pastor's wife. I, on the other hand, was just an ordinary car mechanic, but I worked hard in the hope of giving her a better life. However, only we ourselves know the truth about our marriage. From the second year of our marriage, there were problems in the relationship between Sarah and I. I was very busy at work, leaving home early in the morning and returning late at night, while Sarah spent most of her time working at the church. We had less and less communication, and there were fewer and fewer topics of conversation. When we got home in the evening, we almost always did our own things and then went to sleep in silence. I tried to change the situation and had a serious talk with Sarah, but she always refused to communicate with me, citing work as an excuse. I began to feel lonely and frustrated, and felt that the distance between us was growing. About 6 months ago, I began to notice some changes in Sarah. She started dressing more elaborately, going out frequently, and always holding her mobile phone, secretly texting. I asked her what she was busy with, and she always gave vague answers, saying it was church matters. As a man, my instinct told me that Sarah might be having an affair. I began to secretly observe her and followed her in order to find out the truth. One night, I followed Sarah to a motel. I saw her walk in with a man by the hand. The man, I recognized, was Michael, a member of the church choir. My heart sank to the bottom of the abyss, and anger and pain surged up like a tidal wave. Instead of rushing in to confront them, I chose to leave silently. I knew I needed evidence, conclusive evidence, to completely expose Sarah's true colors. Over the next few weeks, I began secretly collecting evidence of Sarah's infidelity. I installed a GPS tracker in her car, surveillance software on her phone, and even installed a camera in the church lounge. I discovered that Sarah and Michael had been having an affair for a long time. They often met at motels and sometimes even had sex in the church lounge. Watching the surveillance footage of them making out, my heart ached. I felt like a fool for being kept in the dark. I started to lose sleep, unable to sleep through the night. I couldn't understand why Sarah had betrayed me. I asked myself, had I not been good to her? Had I not fulfilled my duties as a husband? I thought of the good times we had, of the vows we made in church, of the future we had envisioned together. All of it had vanished like a bubble. I began to think about what I should do. Should I confront Sarah and get a divorce? Or should I forgive her and give her a chance? I considered many possibilities, but in the end, I made a decision that I might regret for the rest of my life. I wanted revenge. I wanted to make Sarah pay. I wanted to humiliate her in front of everyone. I began to plan my revenge. I knew that Sarah valued her image in the church above all else, and that she feared nothing more than losing face in front of the faithful. So I decided to expose her at our wedding. The date of the wedding drew nearer and nearer, and my revenge plan became more and more perfect. I edited the video of Sarah and Michael cheating into a short film, which I planned to play at the wedding banquet. To make sure it would work, I hired a computer expert to help me hack the projection system in the church's banquet hall and make sure my video would play smoothly. On the day of the wedding, I pretended to be completely normal, making out with Sarah as usual and even saying a few sweet words to her. Sarah didn't seem to notice anything unusual about me, and she was still basking in the joy of being a bride-to-be. The wedding ceremony went smoothly until the banquet began. When I was on stage saying the words to the special gift, I saw Sarah's face light up with anticipation. She thought I was going to give her a surprise, but she never imagined that a huge nightmare was waiting for her. After the video ended, there was silence in the banquet hall, only Sarah's sobs echoed in the air. I looked at her, and instead of the pleasure I expected, I felt a deep sadness. I knew that my revenge had hurt many people, including my father-in-law, Pastor John, and myself. But I could not control the anger and hatred in my heart. I had to make Sarah pay. "Jack, why are you doing this?" Sarah finally spoke, her voice choked with despair. "Why? Sarah, you have the nerve to ask me why? You betrayed me, our marriage, and God. You cheated on me with that choir boy in the church. What do you have to say for yourself?" I yelled, my voice echoing in the empty banquet hall. I. Sarah stuttered, trying to explain, but not knowing what to say. "That's enough, Sarah. I don't want to hear any more explanations from you. As of today, it's over between us." With that, I turned around and left the ballroom, leaving Sarah there alone to bear the scorn and abuse of the crowd. I walked out of the church and breathed in the fresh air, feeling as if I had woken up from a nightmare. I looked up at the sky. The sun was still shining brightly, but my world had been completely changed. I drove aimlessly around town. I didn't know where to go or what the future held. I just knew that my marriage, my love, my life had been completely destroyed by Sarah. I went to the lake where we used to go on dates. The water was clear and calm, reflecting the surrounding trees and sky. I sat on a bench by the lake, quietly watching the surface of the water as I let my thoughts wander. I thought back to how Sarah and I met and fell in love. We met in church, and at that time, I was still a confused young man. It was Sarah who brought me into the church and made me feel the power of faith. We participated in church activities together, studied the Bible together, and served the community together. We shared the same beliefs and ideals. We once thought that we would be together forever until the end of our lives. But reality is cruel. Marriage is not as good as imagined, and love cannot stand the test of time. Sarah has changed, and so have I. Our relationship has finally come to an end. I think of my father-in-law, Pastor John. He is a kind and gentle old man who has always been very good to me, just like his own son. I wonder how he would view this. Will he forgive Sarah? Will he forgive me? I feel guilty and self-blame. I don't know if what I did was right or wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have exposed Sarah at the wedding. Maybe I should have given her a chance. Maybe. But it's too late. I've done what I've done and there's no going back. I can only accept the reality and face the consequences. Just as I'm drowning in grief and self-blame, my phone rings. It's my friend Tom. Jack, where are you? I heard you played a video at the wedding. Is it true? Tom's voice sounded shocked. It's true, Tom. I did it, I said wearily. My God, Jack, are you crazy? How could you do something like that at a wedding? Have you thought about the consequences? Tom reproached. I don't care anymore, Tom. I just wanted revenge. I just wanted to make her pay, I said hoarsely. I know you're angry, Jack, but what you're doing is only making things worse. You're hurting Sarah, you're hurting yourself, and you're even hurting Reverend John. Is it really worth it? Tom sighed and spoke with deep feeling. Tom's words made me reflect. Yes, is it really worth it? Will my revenge really make me happy? I asked myself, and the answer was no. My revenge had not made me happy, but had made me even more miserable and more empty. I realized that I had made a mistake, a big mistake. Revenge did not solve problems, it only made them more complicated and more difficult to handle. I should have chosen another way, a more mature and rational way, to deal with the problem between Sarah and me. But now it was too late to say anything. I had gone too far and there was no turning back. Thanks, Tom. I know what to do, I said to Tom, my tone a little firmer. What are you going to do, Jack? Don't do anything stupid, Tom asked worriedly. Don't worry, Tom, I won't do anything stupid. I just want to take responsibility, I said, hanging up the phone. I took a deep breath, stood up and walked over to my car. I knew what I was about to do could change my life forever. I drove back to the church. The banquet hall was empty, with only a few staff members tidying up. I found Pastor John, who was sitting alone in his office, looking haggard and sad. Father-in-law, I'm sorry, I whispered as I walked up to him. Pastor John looked up and gave me a look full of disappointment and pain. Jack, I have always regarded you as my own son. I thought you were an upright and kind young man. I never thought that you would do such a thing. Pastor John's voice was hoarse with rebuke. I know I was wrong, father-in-law, I really do. I was just so angry, I couldn't control myself, I explained, my voice choking. Anger? Rage? Jack, anger doesn't solve problems, it just makes you lose your mind and make bad choices. Revenge will only make you more miserable and more empty. You're not only hurting Sarah, you're hurting yourself, and even hurting all of us, said Reverend John sadly. I know, father-in-law, I know. I don't know what to do, I'm in so much pain, I said helplessly, tears welling up in my eyes. Pastor John sighed, walked over to me, and patted my shoulder gently. Jack, I know you're in pain, and I know that Sarah did something wrong. But revenge is not the way to solve problems. You should learn to forgive and let go of hatred, only in this way can you truly be free, Pastor John said with deep meaning. Forgive? Let go of hatred. Father-in-law, it's easy for you to say, but it's so hard to do. Sarah betrayed me, she hurt me, how can I forgive her? I said bitterly. Jack, I know it's hard, but you must try. For your own sake, for Sarah's sake, and for all of our sakes. If you keep dwelling on hatred, you will never be able to move on, and you will never be able to find true happiness, Pastor John advised. Pastor John's words made me reflect. Yes, I should learn to forgive and let go of hatred. Only in this way can I truly be free and start my life again. Father-in-law, I will try. I will try to forgive Sarah and let go of hatred, I said to Pastor John, my tone a little firmer. Good boy, I believe in you. Jack, life is still long, you are still young, don't be bound by the pain of the past. Learn to let go and learn to look forward, you will definitely be able to find your own happiness, said Pastor John with relief. I talked to Pastor John for a long time, and he told me a lot about forgiveness and redemption. His words benefited me a lot and made me start to reflect on my own actions. I realized that my revenge had cost Sarah a heavy price, but it had also cost me a heavy price. I had lost my marriage, my love, and my happiness. I decided that I had to let go of my hatred, forgive Sarah, and start my life again. The next day, I went to the law firm and filed for divorce. Sarah and I were officially divorced, ending our short but painful marriage. After the divorce, I left Tranquil Valley and the place that had made me so sad. I moved to a new city and started a new life. I found a new job repairing cars, worked hard, and lived life to the fullest. I started going out again and made new friends. I tried to forget the past and embrace the future. Time is a great healer. As time passed, I gradually got over the divorce and started to feel happy again. I learned to forgive Sarah and let go of my hatred for her. I realized that Sarah was also just a poor woman who had paid the price for her mistakes. I began to reflect on my marriage with Sarah. I realized that the failure of our marriage was not just Sarah's fault, but also mine. I was too focused on my work and ignored Sarah's feelings, not giving her enough love and companionship. We communicated too little and did not understand each other, which ultimately led to the breakdown of our relationship. I learned a lot from this failed marriage. I learned to cherish relationships, to communicate and understand, to forgive and let go. A few years later, I met my second wife, Mary. Mary is a gentle and kind woman who understands me, supports me, and accepts me for who I am. We fell in love, got married, and have lived a happy life ever since. Mary and I run a successful car repair shop together and live a comfortable life. Sometimes I think about Sarah and that painful marriage. But I no longer feel anger or hatred. Instead, I feel a sense of peace and relief. I know that life is full of disappointments. Marriage is no exception. It is impossible to sail smoothly through life, and there are always various problems and challenges. The key is how we face these problems and challenges. Do we choose revenge and hatred, or do we choose forgiveness and letting go? My story may give you some inspiration. Revenge does not solve problems, it only makes them worse. Forgiveness and letting go are the true path to liberation. If you are experiencing the pain of marriage, if you are suffering from betrayal, I hope my story can give you some comfort and encouragement. Remember, life is still long. Don't be bound by the pain of the past. Learn to let go and look forward, and you will be able to find your own happiness. If you like my story, please subscribe to my channel, and I will continue to share more exciting stories with you.